One springtime, 6 different students muse about their purpose and reason for being in school. They think about making connections this year as well as finally living for themselves. One morning on his way to school, Sako is browsing his phone until Yuwa taps his shoulder to greet him. Yuwa is plain looking but surprisingly popular in their grade. He shows Yuwa some comments on social media calling him a flirt, and Yuwa just tells him that it's the price to pay for being popular. Putting on a teasing grin, he asks Yuwa what part of him would make people jealous, and Yuwa plainly tells him that it's pretty much everything about him. They continue their way to school, and Yuwa shows him the new class list, happy that they are once again classmates. However, Sako sees that all their friends are also sharing the same class, which makes Yuwa pout since he doesn't seem too happy with the news. When they enter school, they are immediately greeted by Yuko, who is considered the idol of their grade. Sako and Yuko playfully flirt with each other, which causes Yuwa to tell Yuko that Sako was checking out the new girls. This makes Yuko feel creeped out, and she uses Yuwa as a shield. Sako tells Yuko that she's jealous because he isn't flirty with her, which earns him a jab from Kaito, the ace of the basketball team. Kazuki, a member of the soccer club, chimes in that Sako needs to be stopped, otherwise he won't stop flirting with girls. With his usual group together, he starts off their cheer, and they all put their hands together, calling out different names of their group, and cheer to start the day. Entering the classroom, they are then greeted by Haru and Yuzuki. He notes that Haru is a member of the basketball team and one of the best players, while Yuzuki is also a member but has a similar charm to Yuko. Yuwa tries to get their attention since she hasn't spoken to the two girls before. Suddenly, Sako realizes they haven't joined the group yet and welcomes them, but the two girls also add their own creative nicknames to the team. They begin to laugh, and some students smile at how close they are, but Sako notices that a few students are giving them nasty looks. Classes soon begin, and Sako notices that Korra is once again his homeroom teacher. Haru is pleased since Korra doesn't seem as strict, commenting that she doesn't want to be told off about how she wears her uniform since she's always in a hurry to get dressed after practice. Korra then calls Sako to lead the class for elections. He confidently goes to the table and jokingly introduces himself as Korra's maid, even faking a curtsy to add to the joke. To break the ice, he tells the class that people call him a flirt behind his back. The class bursts into giggles and even jokes back with him. While most of the class are smiling, some look irritated with his showmanship. He then asks if anyone has suggestions for the president role, but the class decides that he should take the position since he's a natural at it. When deciding on the vice president, Yuko immediately volunteers, claiming that she'll do better this year, even though last year she dumped most of the work on Sako. Joining Sako at the front of the class, she introduces herself, and Sako tells everyone that they hope to have a good year together. After class, Sako heads to the rooftop, where he catches Korra smoking. He reprimands Korra for smoking, but the teacher reassures him that it's fine. They chat lightly about how both of them are seen as villains by some people before Sako decides to ask why Korra needed him. Korra pulls out a photo of Kenta, a student who stopped going to school. He adds that Kenta likes anime, and Sako feels confused as to why he was given such seemingly useless information. Korra explains that only kids can understand the troubles of other kids. Sako realizes that Korra wants him to convince Kenta to come back to school. He asks if there's a way for him to refuse, but Korra knows that Sako won't. He points out that Sako has too much main character energy and that he'd want to play the hero. After school, Sako sees Asuka by the riverbank and decides to approach her. It seems Asuka is expecting him, and they begin to make small talk about the book she is reading. As they talk, Sako recalls his first meeting with Asuka. He was about to scold some kids for playing by the riverbank and getting dirty when suddenly Asuka jumped into the water, asking to join their fun. The kids immediately took a liking to her and began splashing around with her. Sako had been intrigued by Asuka that day. He stayed until the kids eventually left so he could hand Asuka a towel to dry off. As Asuka tried to dry her hair, Sako asked what she had decided to play with the kids. He told her that a better solution would have been to pick the kid up from the water and scold the ones who pushed him in instead of encouraging them to play together. Asuka reasoned that her way turned out better since all 3 kids ended the day as friends. Sako felt it was weird since Asuka ended up getting dirty herself. Asuka felt that it was more fun to join them. Mesmerized by her thought process, Sako asked for her name, and when he learned it was Asuka, he felt it perfectly fit her free spirit. In the present, he begins to complain about how Korra is making him run an errand again. Asuka explains that it's because Sako is perfectly imperfect and starts making analogies about how he works. To make Sako understand, she asked him if his female best friend and she were to drown, and if he were in a kayak, who would he save? Sako answers that it wouldn't matter because one could hold onto the kayak while he saves the other. Asuka then makes the question harder by saying there are sharks and piranhas in the water. Sako complains about how unrealistic the situation is. Asuka tells him confidently that if it were her, she wouldn't hesitate to save Sako because she likes Sako more. Sako teases that Asuka should have chosen a more romantic setting to confess, but Asuka ignores his implication, stating that she's aware Sako would give up the kayak and sacrifice himself because that would be the more beautiful ending. Later that evening, Sako observes the town from his balcony. He notices that half the town is probably asleep since it's already late. As he reaches out toward the moon, his thoughts drift to Kenta, wondering what he might be feeling. The next day at school, Yuzuki wants to speak to him and asks if he has gotten himself in trouble. Sako tells her about Kenta, and Yuzuki volunteers to join him. Sako declines her offer, saying that he has already asked someone to help. Yuzuki feels a little let down that it isn't her, but tells Sako that if he ever needs her, he can always ask. Sako waits by the bikes when he spots Yuwa, who ducks behind a wall to fix her hair before running up to him. When she asks why he chose her, Sako explains that people either like or hate him, but Yuwa can easily make people comfortable with her. Sako readies Kaito's bike, which she borrowed, and teases Yuwa about keeping her weight a secret, since she'll be riding on the back. Sako notices that she isn't sitting properly, but Yuwa argues that since she's wearing a skirt, she can't straddle it correctly. He instructs her to hold his waist or shoulder so she won't fall off. On the way to Kenta's house, Yuwa mentions that Sako's back feels really sturdy despite his appearance. Sako proudly tells her that he was once the best baseball player in their prefecture. Yuwa tells him that she's aware since she watched one of his championship games. Sako teases her that she must have been one of his secret fans before they became close, and to his surprise, Yuwa admits that she was. He then feels her hands slip to his waist. When Yuwa questions his silence, Sako teases that he's thinking of breaking suddenly so her chest would slam onto his back. This makes Yuwa place her hands threateningly around his throat as he swears he's only joking. Yuwa asks what their plan is with Kenta, and Sako admits that he has no idea since he doesn't even know him. Arriving at Kenta's apartment, they ring the doorbell and hear a soft voice answer through the intercom. They politely introduce themselves as Kenta's classmates and say that they come to deliver some printouts since Kenta hasn't attended class. The voice turns out to be Kenta's mother, and she invites them inside. They learn that Kenta's mother has tried to talk to him, but he hasn't opened up. Sako tells her that they should be the ones to talk to him since Kenta might feel more comfortable speaking with someone closer to his age. When they both attempt to talk to Kenta through the door, Sako gets insulted for being a flirt, and Yuwa also gets grilled for being one of Sako's girls. After calming each other down from the insults, they renew their efforts and admit that their homeroom teacher had asked them to try and talk to him. Sako tries to get Kenta to open up by saying he also likes anime, but Kenta accuses him of being a poser and tests him by mentioning some niche anime titles. Both Sako and Yuwa admit that they've never heard of those titles, but Yuwa asks if there's any anime or comics he thinks she might enjoy since she likes her brother's action comics. Kenta becomes nervous and says that his room is messy, so he doesn't want to show it to Yuwa. Yuwa suggests that they chat through the door like they are doing right now. Slowly, Kenta begins to talk with Yuwa, and Sako smiles, knowing that he brought the right person to lure Kenta out. He offers to leave the two of them alone, but this causes Kenta to lash out. Sensing that their progress is halted for now, Sako informs Kenta that they'll return next week. On the ride home, Sako asks Yuwa for her thoughts, and Yuwa tells him that she feels Kenta is afraid of something. They joke that Kenta seems to despise Sako, which makes them wonder how to proceed. As the sun begins to set, Sako starts thinking of different plans on how to get Kenta to talk to them. In his next attempt, he brings Yuko, who is thrilled to be riding on the back of the bike. He thinks that someone as honest as Yuko will be able to get Kenta to open up more. During the ride, Sako tells Yuko to sit properly since her skirt is fluttering around, but Yuko refuses, enjoying the ride. Yuko eventually settles and presses her body closer to Sako, saying she's sure things will work out just fine since Sako is her hero. Sako tells her that all she has to do is talk like usual, and he'll handle the rest. When they knock on Kenta's door again, Kenta learns that Yuwa isn't around and begins to think that she secretly hates him. Sako defends her, explaining that she just had practice but truly cares about Kenta. He then tells Kenta that he brought someone else today, and Yuko excitedly introduces herself. Kenta immediately accuses Yuko of using him to make herself look good in front of Sako, saying that helping Sako convince him to go to school will only make Sako like her more. Yuko feels that something is off with Kenta's hostility and asks if he possibly has a crush she confessed to but got rejected. This makes Kenta even more furious, so Yuko calmly explains that she strives hard to be Sako's number one, but will accept it if Sako has eyes on someone else. She says that Sako is naturally a good person, so there's no reason for her to be mad at him even if she ends up heartbroken. Kenta goes quiet, so Sako instructs Yuko to have some tea downstairs while he tries to talk to Kenta. After Yuko leaves, he tries to coax Kenta to open the door, but it doesn't work. He heads back downstairs and apologizes to Kenta's mother. Sako then steps outside, right below Kenta's window, and suddenly swings at it with his bat. Kenta stares at him in shock as Sako gives him a confident smile, telling him it's time for them to start getting to know each other. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every week.